This early silly season betting impacts edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their Pick 8. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com promo code RACESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Build your own betting model using their AI betting engine. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you asked me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome in to another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. Everyone else may be on vacation, but we are still here with you, bringing you content over the course of this Olympic break because, Cody, there's always time and there are always things to talk about. NASCAR never stops, even when it stops.
Well, it does never stop when it stops, Rod. Some of us might even be on vacation right now. Who knows? But luckily, we have this episode for you. No racing for 2 weeks. Everything is off. Everything's taking a break, which is good for the drivers, the teams, right? Give them a chance to reset. Got 5 races, or is it 4 races now left before the playoffs begin? Playoffs? Talk about playoffs. Playoffs are almost here, Rod. Truck Series only got one more race before the playoffs, I think it is. So, we're down to the nitty gritty here before we get into it. So this will be a good chance for the teams to take a break, reset, and come back hopefully freshened up and ready to make those championship runs.
Yeah, and again, I mean, this is when you start talking about the end of the regular season, obviously those that are locked into the playoffs, we're looking at different approaches for them. And then, of course, as we get back to it, we're definitely going to hard charge toward the end of the year. But this is a rare couple of weeks off. I mean, I know that they usually give them like Mother's Day or Father's Day or other days off, but there haven't really been a lot of off weeks this year. And well, at least for the Cup Series, I don't think there has been a single off week.
I mean, between Daytona or between, the Clash and Daytona, where you've got the Super Bowl week, but once the season has started, it's not been, I don't think we've had a single off week. So, and we don't usually get 2-week breaks. Obviously, the Olympics kind of throw a wrench into it. That's only every 4 years. We might not even have that going forward because NBC is not going to have the broadcasting this time of year in this new TV deal. So it might be the last time we have 2 weeks off anyways. That's how it goes.
Yep. But we did decide that we were going to continue to put out at least a couple of episodes over the course of the next week, and then a couple more after the break, well, the first week of the break. So this is a great time to sort of catch our collective breaths and to take a look at what has obviously gone on and what is going to go on next season. So we'll take this episode and we'll talk about it. I mean, obviously, silly season is the time in which drivers start to continue to make moves and teams make moves, but we have witnessed some silliness that has gone on during the course of this regular season. A lot of news that broke, a lot of things that a lot of pieces being moved around. So we figured we'd talk about them and talk about the betting aspect, because this is, of course, the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. So you got to tie it back to betting somehow, right? And we'll think about what the futures are going to be for them, and some of what we think the odds could be, and are they better or worse off in their new position? How many races do we think they're going to win? all that other good stuff as we usually do on the off season. So we'll do that in this episode. But I want to tell you first that the Sports Gambling Podcast is getting you ready for college football with their conference previews. Make sure you tune in wherever you get your podcast for the SGPN app. Man, a lot of football to get to. And the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is killing it.
Football season, let's go! I'm so excited, right? I love football season.
Getting close.
But yeah, back to your point. This is a great time. It does give us a chance to catch up, right? We talk about the news kind of as we go along, but there's so many other things to get to as far as what are we betting on this week? What are the races? The DFS play, and Rod and I could talk about these things for hours upon hours, but yeah, it's we have to have a life, I guess, too. So this is a good chance to get caught up. This has been the silliest of silly seasons that we've had here lately. There's been a few big ones over the years. Kyle Busch just a couple of years ago, obviously, was a huge domino to fall when he leaves JGR. He goes to RCR. And when we saw how that worked out, Keselowski going to Roush Fenway. We've seen where that's gone now, being Roush Fenway, Keselowski, of course.
Kyle Larson going to Hendrick. That was a huge one.
That might be the biggest domino, right, that we've had. So, silly season has definitely been silly. And there's been a lot of it.
Yeah, and it's really anchored by one kind of major piece of the puzzle, and that was when Stuart Haas announced that they were going to be folding up their Cup Series and essentially, I would just say their whole NASCAR entity. I mean, they got the one car that they're going to be rolling out in the Xfinity Series, but when you talk about just folding up an entire 4-car garage in the Cup Series, that's huge. I mean, that's like ramifications that sent shockwaves through the entirety of NASCAR. 4 drivers that would be looking for rides, 4 charters up for grabs. Cody, this was probably the single biggest announcement so far in the course of the season that has basically sent shockwaves through the garage.
Yeah, massively. I mean, it's a big thing, right? Charters becoming available. We've seen how expensive they've been over the last few years. We still don't have a charter agreement, at least as of the time we're recording this. So that is still a little bit of a concern, of course. But I mean, it's got ripples there, right? You're allowing now teams to get. Trackhouse has 47 drivers signed up. They need more charters, right? 2311 we know wants to get bigger. Front Row obviously has already decided to get bigger. It's forced driver retirement announcements earlier than we would have thought because, well, Chase Briscoe's on the market and we need you to decide now. Are you coming or are you staying or are you going, Martin Truex? And he's going, right? So it's definitely sent its shockwaves. We've obviously seen 3 of those drivers land their future rides. So we'll talk about all of those ripple waves. But yeah, it's done massive things. I mean, and this is a team that's been around for a while. So Gene Haas started in 2002. It was that 0 car, the net 0 car. They debuted 2002 at the Protection 1400 at Kansas Speedway, Rod. I was at that race as a 10-year-old child. That was a lot of fun. So they've been around basically my entire life, a lot of my life, right? So they've competed in 1,151 entries between the Cup, the Trucks, the Xfinity, and the ARCA series as well. So 3 championships, 2 in the Cup Series, and then obviously Cole Custer won the Xfinity Series race last week. 99 victories in total. Will they get to 100 before the end of the season? That'd be interesting if they could get one more and end up there. So, this has been a team that obviously, they started out as kind of a back marker, and then Gene brought in Tony and put together right away. They began winning, and Tony just changed everything right away. Wins a couple of titles there. Harvick obviously, or Tony wins a title there. Harvick obviously adds one later on. So, it's been a great team. And now they're going to go back down to 1 car, right? They're going to keep 1 charter. Will they stay with Ford when nobody really knows? And then they're going to keep the Xfinity program as well. But yeah, big time ripples from this.
Jack Sprague, actually the first driver of that net 0 Pontiac, by the way.
Manufacturers, because they started as Pontiac. They were Chevy for a long time. And then, of course, moving over to Ford as most recently here.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, when you talk about the storied history of these teams, 22 years this team has been around in some way, shape, or form. Like you said, Tony kind of put it on the map, and we've seen after Kevin left, I don't know that the same was there. There wasn't a whole lot of momentum behind that. You sign guys like Gregson, you got sound Josh Berry, right? You got Ryan Preece in there still. You got Chase Briscoe, 4 young, talented drivers. But
it's a far cry from Ryan Newman and Kurt Busch and Danica Patrick and Tony Stewart and even Clint Boyer, like the heyday of Stewart-Haas racing. And, we talked about this last week with Ryan Blaney and how, man, he's got 2 wins. We're recording this before Indy. Maybe he's got 3 wins now, right? As you're listening to it. But he's got 2 wins, but it could be 4 if he'd have won that super speedway, if he wouldn't have ran out of gas, how things would be different. How different would have been if Kyle Busch had won that super speedway race. Well, Rod, they wanted Kyle Larson. Tony Stewart, the dirt track guy, the sprint car guy, wanted Kyle Larson after he was suspended from Chip Ganassi Racing. They let him go. He was pulling all the strings, had everything lined up, and Ford said, nope, sorry, we don't want him. Now the team is gone. Imagine how things would be different if Kyle Larson had gone to Stewart-Haas. Then you've got Kyle Larson. I think Kurt Busch was still there at the time. Kevin Harvick, obviously. Does that continue to be a power team? Maybe Hendrick isn't the power, as they're still going to be a power team, right? But it'd be a lot different over there. Who's in the 5 car? I mean, again, that get on a different train and how much your life changes. But would Stewart-Haas still be around if Ford hadn't told him no for Kyle Larson? It's kind of crazy to think about that.
That would have put him in the 14. Yeah. I mean, you think about it, Harvick was still in the 4.
Yeah. Or would it have been, I'm trying to remember, because this would have been 2020 was the year he was suspended. So 21 is when he came back. So yeah, you had Almirola in the 10, Harvick in the 4. Busch was still, although had Busch already left for, I think his Custer would have been in the 41 at that time.
I think
I don't remember which car he would have went into. Maybe he would have went into the 41 instead of Custer, or maybe, I don't remember what the plan would have been, but I know Tony was going to make space for him. That was the key thing. Tony really wanted him. It's a dirt track guy that, and that's how Tony came up. And yeah, Ford put the kibosh to it, and now they put the kibosh to the whole thing, which is crazy.
Yeah, again, I mean, when you just think about everything that now is about to happen with this team and with these drivers, we'll talk about the dominoes that are falling off here because of that, and obviously that 14 car heavily involved in it. But yeah, there's a lot going on now that we'll talk about. We'll start talking some drivers here, but let's first do this. I would like to tell you about Underdog Fantasy because I love some Underdog Fantasy. Pick 8 is now live. You can create entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog's going to automatically double flex those entries so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. And the best part, you can win up to 325 times your original amount. You can also use specials and boosts on all flex entries. Cannot wait to keep making pick 8s. I'm so excited about it. I can't even get it out once we get back from NASCAR. But you don't have to wait for that. There is still football. There's still basketball. There's still all kinds of stuff going on. Golf, I think. Yeah, there's some kind of sport to keep you company while NASCAR is away. So don't miss your chance to try it out before it's gone. Sign up with our promo code, though, RACESGPN, to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN. Circa Sports is back with Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. And, of course, Circa contests have no rake. Circa Millions, pick 5 NFL teams against the spread each week and compete for $6 million, or survive the NFL gauntlet to claim the $10 million prize. Sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th and use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with promo code SGP. Don't have a trip booked for Las Vegas yet before football? Don't worry. Ultimate Contest Weekend is a great way and a great time to go hang out with Sean and Ryan and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sportsbook in the world, August 22nd through August the 24th. Okay, so let's talk about
looking back real quick. It would have been probably the 14 because Briscoe was a rookie in 21, so likely would have been that 14 where he would have replaced Clint Boyer, who retired after the 2020 season. So man, and now Chase Briscoe's going to be at Joe Gibbs Racing. So I guess worked out for him and potentially them, and just not for Stewart-Haas.
No, and it makes you wonder too, what would have happened to Kyle Larson then if Stuart Haas folded? I mean, if they still were on the trajectory to fold.
Oh, you imagine, or like if Kevin Harvick was still, which I think if Kevin Harvick was still around, they probably don't fold. But yeah, if Kevin Harvick and or Kyle Larson was hitting the free agent market, Truex retires, Kyle Larson goes into the 19 car. Boy, how things could be different depending on time frames, and one person says no and changes the course of history.
I'm not a fan fiction guy, but I could butterfly effect the hell out of that. Like I could honestly write you a
it would be pretty sweet to like deep dive into like all of the different things that would have been affected by this.
Alternate realities. Well, you talked about that 14. You talked about Chase Briscoe. He was one of the first, well, not really one of the first, but this was one of the announcements that got kind of blown open by accident. Obviously, Christopher Bell making a statement out of
we already knew at that point, but
well, everybody had an idea of what was going on. But when Christopher Bell said, when Chase gets here, obviously was not talking about Chase Elliott. But yeah, Chase Briscoe now moving to the 19 because yet another one of the big announcements that was made. And maybe Cody, like you argued, this could have been made because of the fact that Christopher Bell already sort of let the lid off. But Martin Truex Jr. retiring, leaving the 19 team, still going to drive in Daytona, but not going to be a full-time in the 19 ride, which means Chase Briscoe finds himself in that 19. Cody, you love you some Chase Briscoe on the short flats. You love him in some of the other aspects of it. Now he's in Gibbs equipment. If I gave you a 1.5 season win for Chase Briscoe, where do you land on that one?
I think
2025 in the 19 car. Let's preface that.
I think that you've set the number correctly there. I would say at this point, again, Indianapolis has not happened, but Briscoe has no wins this season. Truex also has no wins this season. So neither the driver going into that car nor that car has wins. We know that JGR is fast, obviously. Multiple wins from Denny Hamlin, multiple wins from Christopher Bell. Has he won multiple times or does he just win once?
Yeah, I think
multiple times, I think. But obviously Gibbs has been close. Truex has been close. Neither of them have taken a win yet. So I think that I would have to go with the underside of things just because it's the uncertainty, right? He's been with Ford his entire career. I mean, it's sort of shocking. Obviously, you have to take this opportunity if it's presented to you because you'd be making a grave mistake if you did not. But Ford has been his ride all the way up until this point, so it'll be different for him going to Toyota. This is a big boy team. I mean, Stuart Haas over the last few years when Briscoe's been there just hasn't been the team that they once were and the dominant that they had been at points when Kevin Harvick was winning 9 races in a season or things like that. So I think I would go to the underside of things, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a win or two by any means. I think he's going to have a strong season. I think he's going to be dangerous on the short flats. If you're dangerous on the short flats in a car, so first of all, he's a great short flat driver, just in general in himself. And JGR is a great short flat team. You put that combination together. By the way, the championship races had a short flat track where Chase Briscoe's won before in not as good Stuart Haas equipment. So you can't count him out to win the championship his first season. Longer shot, obviously, he's going to be, but it might be worth looking at because, again, if you can get there, if you can just get to Phoenix, all you have to do is beat those other 3 guys. He's going to have the equipment to do it, and we know that he's a good driver. This is obviously going to be the ultimate test. This is his chance. He's proven to be pretty good in the Stuart Haas cars, in this 14 car, but this is his chance to show everybody what kind of a driver he is. And it could go either way. It could be like, holy shit, look at Kyle Larson. We thought he was pretty good in this 42 car, but look at him winning 10 races now in the 5 car. Is it going to go that far? Probably not right away. But it is going to be a massive step up for him and a massive opportunity.
And really, if you think about it this way, he's got 1 career win in his entire career. I mean, he's only got 1 win, and that came in 2022. So it's been a very, very long time since Chase Briscoe has touched the checkered flag. And so to immediately think that just because this is the 19 and you can't, a lot of times, Cody, we do like to say maybe this is the car, maybe this is the equipment, right? You talk about guys like we'll talk about later in some of this equipment that's not as potent as a Stuart Haas car. And you're like, well, of course there's a reason why they haven't won in a very long time. But now you put him in this 19, which, as you said, Truex hasn't won a race this season, but that 19 car knows how to make it to victory lane. It knows how to win races. Like, I know that it's not a horse, and I know that it's not something that you train to get into victory lane, but the equipment is there, and it's somebody drives that equipment, and we're good to go. So Chase Briscoe immediately gets in there. I don't know that he immediately wins races. That's the other thing about it. Maybe give him a couple of seasons to get there, and then maybe we see. You look at Chase Briscoe's odds right now to win 100-1, to win. I'm sorry, 1,000-1 even to win the championship this year in that 14. I would say that he opens somewhere near that too in 2025. Maybe.
He's gonna have to open a lot less than that. I mean, you probably would have to go back to the beginning of the season, see what Ty Gibbs opened this season at, and maybe shave a little bit off of it, just because the jump in equipment is going to be enough that they're going to be scared of him. But you're probably, based on the equipment that he's in, going to get a good price on him. He's definitely going to be. He's somebody that I have circled to when we get 2025 championship odds to look at, because I think that there might be a case to be made at the right number for sure. So, yeah, I'm not going to love it if James Small is his crew chief. Maybe Small is different with him, but I personally feel like James Small has held Martin Truex Jr. back a fuck ton over the last few years. We saw how good he was with Cole Pern. Just make the switch when Pern leaves, and Small just hasn't got it done. And it just seems like boneheaded move after boneheaded move, and it's constantly you're looking at James Small and you're like, what are we doing here? They get animated on the radio, which is fine. Some people have that relationship, right, where you can get on the phone and scream at each other, and then everything's good, right? So if that's what works for him, it works for him. But I don't know. And maybe Truex is getting to the end of his career and starting to fall off and lose that touch, as we've seen with a lot of guys. Look at the greatest driver of all time, right? Multiple. I mean, Jimmy Johnson, Richard Petty. Richard Petty didn't win in like his last 10 seasons. So, but yeah, I think that I'm not overly bullish on him to have a great first season. But I think that there's definitely some possibilities there for it to be a good long-term deal.
Yeah. And by the way, Briscoe is 100-1, not 1,000-1. My eyes don't see very well anymore, but you talked about where Ty Gibbs is at. Ty Gibbs is at 30-1 right now, which again, Briscoe at 100-1, Ty's at 30-1. Is that where?
Yeah. I would say you're probably getting somewhere. And yeah, I mean, those numbers currently are factoring in Briscoe is not likely to make the playoffs. Gibbs is more likely, but not necessarily safe just yet. All the other people that are locked in, Rod, he's not one of them yet. But yeah, I would say if you get him somewhere in that 30-1 range, you're probably going to have to bet on him, just because, and at that point, he's going to have a whole season under his belt. If things click at the right time, you get a guy like that on a track like that, it could definitely happen.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting again. So yeah, if we're making predictions now, I think that 1.5, because if you set it at a half a win, then you're going to get gouged. Because I do think
still though, like, I don't know. Are you for sure he's going to win a race?
Well, no, of course not. That's why it's gambling. But
yeah, but like with Martin Truex, if you'd have put it at half a race this year, yeah, I would have definitely taken the over. Even though at this point he's not 1-1. Are we that confident that he's going to jump in and win in his first season?
He's got 2 top 5s this season. A second place in New Hampshire, a 5th place at Darlington.
And how many wins does that pay?
Well, no, but I'm just saying I
get it.
Horseshoes and hand grenades, Cody. Like you're close. But yeah,
I think that 1.5 is the appropriate spot to set it at, because you probably will take too much action on the over at a half. But I still don't know that a win is a guaranteed thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Of course, we got to keep an eye on the numbers too to make sure they make sense. But that's what we're looking at if we're going to be predicting the future, which neither one of us want that job. So well, maybe, I don't know. Give me that job. I'll take it. Books, are you looking to hire a handicapper? Telling you right now, I'm available. I will love to handicap for your book. So, actually, That might be something I look into. Let's talk that through later. My career choices after we tell you about rhythm. Maybe I could be one of these MIT data scientists and a quant to come up with numbers that make sense to you. If you're betting on player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm is the go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter data-driven decisions. Unlike other platforms, Rhythm combines advanced predictive analytics with an intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data that help drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions. Rhythm projections have been red hot for WNBA and golf, so go claim that 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Cody is going solo for the rest of the show because I am going to go look up how to become a handicapper. That is my goal in life. Actually, don't we have a couple of handicappers in the Discord?
In the Discord, we do, yes. A couple of people who are involved in setting certain lines in certain sports.
May have to hit them up and use them for that. All right, let's talk about another Stewart Haas driver that is now vacating his ride. Oh, he didn't have it very long, but he sat in that seat after the great Kevin Harvick retired. Young Josh Berry sitting in the 21 car now for next season. Does this First and foremost, put your Josh Berry hate aside and look at this objectively.
That's a big bucket, Rod. Hold on. Give it.
I know. Give Cody now I'm solo because Cody's carrying that bucket all the way out to outside his room. But honestly, this 4 car, right? We know that Kevin Harvick drove the hell out of it. We know that car, much like a trained horse, could find its way into victory lane. Josh Berry,
but even Harvick didn't win the last season.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I think he already knew in his head that he was gone, but yeah.
And they announced before the season he was going to be gone, but still.
Yeah, that's true. All right, but anyways, back to Josh Berry. Cody, does this even move the needle I know betting wise it doesn't move the needle for anybody, but like how far down does it move the needle for you?
Well, Rod, in your opinion, is Wood Brothers / Penske, because it's the 4th Penske car, right? Lightly, it's Penske light, but is that an upgrade from Stewart Haas? Is that a lateral move? Is that, I don't know.
We don't know. We don't know. We honestly don't know because
we really don't.
Has not been the driver that
and it's been Harrison Burton, it's been Matt DiBenedetto. Like we haven't really had a good driver in there since Ryan Blaney, and he won a Pocono and had some good runs, right? But Wood Brothers hasn't lit the world on fire. This is a really tough one. He's probably going to be overvalued going into the season because look, he was coming into this season, right? He was like 20-1 to win the championship or something like stupidly short. And it's like rookies have not won the championship like ever. So first of all, no. I think I'd have to go back and look. I feel like I got an under win total at 1.5, maybe a half. Either way, that's currently cashing unless he's won Indianapolis a few days ago at this point. But man, I don't know. Dale Earnhardt Jr. believes in this guy and he loves him. And how'd that work out with Brad Keselowski? Well, pretty fucking good, right? And he's done a good job of bringing guys up through his program and sending them on to success. The Chase Elliott's, the William Byrons of the world. I mean, all those people who have come through, JRM and his other, Martin Truex back in the day was a Dale Earnhardt Jr. guy. Like he started him with the Chance 2 Motorsports and got him into DEI. Talk about trains going different directions. Almost got him into the Hendrick car at one point, Rod. Oh, Martin Truex Jr. and Hendrick equipment would have been something to see. But I don't know. He's always so overvalued. And when I'm looking at everything from a betting aspect, from a fantasy aspect, it makes those guys to me just less attractive. And that's why I'm not hardly ever on a Berry, because he's so overvalued and he's so loved and everybody wants to pick him, but he doesn't really ever pay off for you. So you're not getting good numbers on him. And I think that it's just going to kind of continue to be more of that. He's not taking one of the greatest crew chiefs in the garage with him and Rodney Childers, right? That's another conversation we'll have in this silly season stuff. But so what is the crew chief situation over there? Does Penske get more involved than they've been? I mean, does Penske look at Harrison Burton and go, why should we waste our time? Because that's probably how you should look at it, right? Like, okay, he's going to bring some money to your program. We'll toss you a wrench here and there. Okay. But if you get a guy like Josh Berry, you believe should have some promise and hope, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. thinks could be a Cup Series champion one day, does Penske get more invested in that car and help it? I mean, a lot of the time, their third car now in Austin Cindric struggles, and Cindric was a way better Xfinity Series driver than Josh Berry ever has been. So I don't know. I don't have high expectations. If you get a win total, I'm taking the under because I don't think he's going to win a race unless he manages. There's fluke things that can happen, and not flukes, but you get strategy races, which we've seen here lately a lot, and super speedways obviously are another thing too. Although he's not ever been great at those either. But I don't have high expectations for Josh Berry there, and I didn't have high expectations for him in the 4 either. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that I would look for this to open at a half a win. With the
I hope they give us a half a win. I don't care if it's minus 200, Rod. I will fucking mortgage the house on that stuff. Like, how is he going to win a race?
Well, this is what I'm saying. If you look at Harrison Burton over the course of his 4 seasons rather, as well, 3 and 1 continuing on as a Cup Series driver, he has got 1 top 5 finish, 5 top 10 finishes in his entire Cup career. His average finish 24.4, his average start 24.3. Xfinity Series, he picked up 4 wins in 2020, right? That was an impressive run for him in that
Did he
series.
really have 4 wins that year?
He did. He had 4 wins in 2020. Yep. Out of age 19, his average finish was 10th place in that one. His average start was 7.8, but he finished 8th in that season, even after 4 wins. Truck Series, no wins in that, 11. So Harrison Burton, yeah, but Josh Berry, you even look at his Xfinity Series, he had those 5 wins over the course of his career, right? 2 in 2021, 2 in 2022, but he had 28 top 5 finishes, 52 top 10 finishes in his Cup Series career for Josh Berry, 3 top 5s, 7 top 10s. That's 3 seasons, but only 33 races. So really the equivalent of full season.
Really this is only his first season. It's all been spot duty here and there. Just 77 rides, getting in the 9, getting in the 48. He had a second place finish in the 48, I think it was. Maybe it was the 9. I can't remember. One of the 2 cars. It was a strategy race, but hey, you give him credit for it still. I don't know. I've never been completely sold on Berry anyways, as you know, if you've listened to the show for any amount of time. And I just don't see Wood Brothers being that team. And we'll see. I mean, all 3 Penske cars got wins this year, right? And Cindric, yes, there was some flukiness to it, but you had to be running in that position for both those guys to have their issues to take that win. It's great. Blaney could have 4 wins here recently. If my pick on last week's show or this week's show, I don't know how we're going to say that, but if Joey Logano wins this race at Indy last couple of days ago, then, things are going good for Penske. But I don't know. Is a 4th Penske car and how much does Penske get involved? Because if Penske's been involved with Harrison Burton, oof.
Yeah. Well, and so again, I'm setting this at a half a win. If we're gonna go, I'm setting this at a half a win.
Hammer the under.
I'm juicing the under at about minus 140. I don't want to
200.
Yeah, like you said, minus 200 but I'll take the under at minus 140. I'll take the over and I'll put it at about I don't know, plus
a million.
250, plus $1 million. No,
I'd be pretty surprised if we saw a win total on him, unless we'll see as the books kind of continue to evolve. It'd be nice if they would give us more options, but they generally keep it tighter towards the top of the field or guys that are bigger names. I doubt we'll see a win total on him, but if you do, under.
Yep, and he's 75-1 right now to win the championship. And then whereas Harrison Burton really is 1,000-1 to win the championship. So I don't think we'll see 1,000-1 for Josh Berry, probably more in the range of the 100-1 range, maybe even again 75-1 if he opens up at 75-1. Maybe they respect the driver and not the car. So just keep an eye on that. Obviously,
not interested anyways.
Yeah, not worth the pick. But I mean, it does make it interesting because of the fact that he is moving into that 21 ride. Does it make it better? Who knows? We'll figure that out. All right. Speaking of making a car better, Noah Gragson, third team in 3 seasons. This is a rough start to his Cup Series career, but he will be going to Front Row Motorsports, who we both know have been trending upward lately. Michael McDowell departing. We'll talk about where he's going in a second, or maybe even in the next episode, depending on how long-winded we get about Noah Gragson. But we know Noah Gragson will be leaving that 10 car, moving into the 34 car, and taking over for him. Cody, we saw when Noah Gragson got signed on to Legacy Motor Club that they had high hopes for him. He was doing well enough. He wasn't lighting the world on fire, but he also
I don't think he was doing that good, Rod, was he?
He was doing okay. Like he was in the car and he was driving the car, and then we knew that he was there. But I don't know what his upside could have been had he not been, dismissed from the ride and dismissed from the team altogether. So then it was Stuart Haas that took a chance on him to bring him into that 10 car. Again, not really been the best season for him here either. So what is he doing?
It's not been the worst season either. I'm a lot higher on Gragson, and I think it's because, if you stack him and Barry up against each other, their Cup Series careers haven't looked too much different, right? But for me, with Gragson, he's not really gotten a fair shake in the Cup level, right? The legacy thing, he got in trouble, left the team, didn't really get the full season. Then you come into Stuart Haas, but you don't get a season really with them either, because early into your first season with them, the team disbands, which is an argument you can make for Barry as well. So like he was this great talent in the Xfinity Series. Don't forget how much he fucking won all the time in Xfinity in that 9 car. Now, granted, during some of the best equipment in the series, I get that. But he took it to the level that Josh Berry never took it to. Josh Berry wasn't doing what Noah Gragson was in the same equipment. We've seen the flashes this year, right? And we've hit on multiple times with bets, having good, strong runs compared to what those cars are kind of able to do. We've also seen some stuff like Pocono, where he just loses it and wrecks and finishes last. And we kind of saw a similar thing at Charlotte earlier this year. And there's still some things that he needs to clean up. Front Row, I think, is a much better landing spot than the Wood brothers, to be honest with you. I get that the Wood brothers are associated with Penske. That's all fine and dandy, but it's not been a team that's done much of any note anytime lately. And I mean, really, if you kind of look back at the Wood brothers, they're the longest standing team in the Cup Series, right? They've been around for fucking ever. Yeah, when David Pearson was driving the cars, they were great, but that was 50 years ago. So, they've kind of been through just a conglomerate of drivers over the past years. A lot of times kind of getting the extra Penske guys, and the Bill Elliott's that would go through there, and the Michael Waltrips and the Elliott Sadlers, kind of stops along the way, right? But not really ever a great car, I guess. But Front Row, they've shown a lot, right? So you go last season and McDowell, they won the Daytona 500 a couple of years ago, and they won the fog shortened race a few years back, and David Reagan had some wins for them on super speedways. So they've been there and done it a little bit. But last season was kind of this turning stone, right? Where they come out, McDowell wins the road course race. He's very competitive all throughout the season, has a good showing in the playoffs, all of this stuff. And then you come into this season, and it's been Todd Gilliland who's been really, up until Pocono, where he got involved in that Kyle Busch wreck, he'd had a great streak of top 20 finishes, which is good for that team. And they've kind of continued to progress. Is he going to come in? Is Gragson going to come in and start winning races right away? It's probably going to be tough. I don't know. We'll see if he gets in. If he gets in the 34 car, I like it a little more. We don't know where he's going to be, right? Gilliland's back in the 38. We know that. The 34 is open, and there's going to be a third car with this charter that's been acquired. But who's going to crew chief? We don't have any of these details yet. I think if he gets in the 34, it's probably it's an established team. You probably have a better chance right away. If it's an additional team, you're adding a third team. but they've upped their partnership with Penske, right? Which is might even be better than the Wood Brothers partnership, even though they're preparing the Wood Brothers cars. So we've seen big steps from them. They're not a championship level team by any means yet, but I think that Gragson is a driver that can help elevate a program like that. If he can keep his head on straight, which he's doing this season, right? We saw the suspension last year, the punches being thrown, all that stuff. He's not had any of that this year, and it's been just him kind of showing up and doing his thing, being a fairly consistent driver. So I like that. I don't see any wins for him next year. I doubt we would see a win total there either. But you'd probably have to go under if you were to get one anyways. But I think that it's going to be, I think that's a good long-term fit, because I think that team is showing the initiative to invest. Obviously, they've kind of continued to do that, expanding to a 3-car team, upping the partnership with Ford. They kind of seem like the team that's replacing Stewart-Haas on the Ford tiers. So I think that it's a good fit for Gragson, and I think he'll do well over there.
Well, and you look at too, but the difference between him and Harrison Burton is staggering when it comes to the Xfinity Series for sure. I mean, as far as the Cup Series is concerned, he's had not even a full season yet in it. He does have 1 or 2 top 5 finishes in his career, and 7 top 10 finishes. His average finish 23.5. But again, that's between 3 different teams and not even full seasons in all of those.
Really, because he raced part-time for Kaulig before getting into the Legacy car even. So,
yep. So, but in the Xfinity Series, he has those 13 wins, 63 top 5s, 98 top 10s, and 137 races. You're right. He killed it in the Xfinity Series. That's the difference. And that's probably why that 34 car. And you're right. I sort of assume that he's going to take that 34 car. They haven't announced it yet, but you got to think they want him in the flagship.
And I think it depends who the third driver is, right? Because if they bring Zane Smith back, the only thing that I think could keep him out of the 34 car is Gragson brings his own partners. So I think it depends who they put in the 34 car. Because if it's a guy like Zane Smith that maybe doesn't bring as many partners and can just continues the Loves thing, and he drove the Loves truck when he was with Front Row, so it might make the most sense for them to put him in that car that's already branded that way, and have Gragson with the Bass Pro and with the Black Rifle Coffee, whatever else in the 36 or whatever other number they decide. So, but even then, you could move the 34 team to the new car. We don't have any of those details yet. I think that it will make a difference which car he's in. I think that it would be better for him to be in there. I wish that he would be the one that got the 19. I think, in my opinion, of the 3 of them, he's the most talented one. And while he's still young and raw, and I think that's why why JGR chose Briscoe, because he's the more polished. He's been around a little longer. He's won before. Oh, Noah Gragson could be so fucking good in that 19 car, I think. And I'd be much higher on him going into that car because I think the talent level is higher. But I understand why they did it. But I think that long-term front row will be a good thing for him.
Yeah, again, for Noah Gragson, we know that a lot of his success in that Xfinity Series came because of the equipment that he was in. Also, Junior Motorsports car. That's he was in the best equipment in the entire Xfinity Series. And then you look at the 34 car, you even just look at front row in general, right? I mean, McDowell, to his credit, has that road course win, but he's only got one other win on top of that, right? He's only had 2 wins in his entire career of 17 years, 11 top 5s, 43 top 10s. This team was not, like you said, championship competitive. So does Noah elevate this team? Can he put this on its back? Time will tell. We'll give him an opportunity. He'll have a very, very long leash, I'm sure, in that Front Row Motorsports team, regardless of the number, regardless of the car, and that is that. So let's talk about one last driver, and we'll close the book on this episode. And we'll have some more silly season stuff coming up for you as well. But let's talk about the guy leaving that 34 car. He announced that he will be inhabiting the 71 truck, which means that Zane Smith, and we'll talk about him, I guess, going away as well. Zane Smith will be out of that 71 car next season. Michael McDowell coming in to join Spire, to join public enemy number 1, Cody, Corey LaJoie, in that Spire garage.
Is he a public enemy, or I think it depends on who you look at, because Kyle Busch, there's a lot of Kyle Busch fans, but there's a lot of people that don't like Kyle Busch too. But
it's true.
Yeah.
Hometown hero.
Very fitting that Corey LaJoie earlier this season drove the Iowa Hawkeyes car. because he does a lot of punting. So that's
Gotta love it. But of all the things that we've talked about, I think I saved this for last because I don't see this as a step up. I see this as
I don't know if I would say that.
let me tell you why. Okay. And I'll tell you because I respect Spire. I respect what they're trying to do. I respect the moves that they've been making to try to make this team better. However, it's the same story. It's a smaller team.
It's not though. It's
how?
It's
How
a story.
How many wins does Spire have?
Well, one. They do have a win, Rod.
Yeah, but so does Front Row.
Thanks, Justin Haley. Front Row's got multiple, but yes, I think that looking at it right now, today, yes, it's a step down from Front Row to Spire. Looking at it right now, today, last year, it was a step down to go from Colleague to Rick Ware, but now looking at it in hindsight, it wasn't. I think that Front Row is making all of the proper steps to continue to go forward, and I'm very surprised that McDowell left because he's built that program, right? But I think coming over to Spire, we've obviously seen what Carson Hocevar has been able to do, most notably at Spire this season as a rookie, which has been very impressive. LaJoie's not done what he's been able to do, which is another part of silly season we'll talk about later, because I don't know that there's going to be a hotter seat than Corey LaJoie next year with Rodney Childers in there and him having his chance. So that will be another conversation probably to have on the next episode. But McDowell's coming over here as a veteran guy. Yes, the 71's not run well this season, and yes, it is that third car, and so maybe there is something to the fact of having that third car, but it's going to be a second year in that car. And McDowell's a veteran driver. We've seen him do well enough. I know 2 wins over the 500 or whatever starts, but he was pretty good at Michael Waltrip Racing. He's been pretty good at all of his stops. Is he going to be a multi-race winner or anything like that? No. Is he probably going to win any races? Probably not. He's always going to be in the mix of super speedways, though. You've got to always give him that, and he's proven some ability on road courses. Long term, I think that Spire continues to be on the upward trajectory. They're obviously spending ass tons of money, right? They paid out the ass for that charter last year from BJ McLeod and Live Fast. They have obviously dropped an entire bag for Rodney Childers, because why else is he going to go to that team unless they're paying him a ton? We've seen the Andretti money flow in. We've seen the Gamebridge money flow in. I still think that Honda might be around the corner. Now, the rules, it takes a couple of seasons to get a team in there. So next season, is it going to be a Honda team? No, but in 26, 27, could it be a Honda team? And could they be the lead team for Honda? I wouldn't be surprised to see that. And I think that would be the big step that they really need. And maybe that's the promises that they made to McDowell or the story that they sold him. But next year, I think that you're probably going to see McDowell still kind of be where he is this season. I don't think that it's going to be much different. And we kind of see those Front Row cars and those Spire cars run around each other now. And I think that both teams are doing a great job at taking the next step. And they've both expanded to 3 cars now, and they both continue to get better and better performances. Spire, I think, has more of an influx of money. They've got a partnership with Hendrick. And I know that Front Row's got the partnership with Penske, but Hendrick sounds a little better. I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's going to win any races. Maybe a super speedway, I think, is always in the play for him, but it'll be interesting to see. And this is definitely going to be, this does feel a lot like Justin Haley. I think he is taking a leap of faith a little bit. And they probably offered him multiple years, which I don't think that Front Row did, which might have been when they learned and did it with Todd Gilliland and Noah Gragson now. Both have signed multi-year deals. So, but I don't know. I think that it'll probably be a lot of the same Michael McDowell that we kind of see now.
It is. And I think if we see any sort of win total, it's going to be that half a win. His odds are going to be somewhere in the 75 to 100 to 1s to win as well.
There won't be a win total.
I
don't see that happening, but yeah.
Because I wouldn't even know where to handicap that one. It'd be like negative a million for the
unless it's one of those where you only have the option to take the yes or no is minus 6,000, and it's like, well, why'd you even give me this option?
Because somebody somewhere is like, I'm taking the no. I don't care.
And then he wins at Atlanta by half an inch, and you lose your bet.
You've lost $60 million because you just were
Yes.
so yeah. But yeah, I mean that's it. And again, for Michael McDowell, we talk about him because we have to. He's on there, and he'll do
But
something.
he's gonna be a guy that we're gonna look at top tens. I mean,
Top tens.
you're gonna get opportunity to bet on McDowell and super speedways. He's always gonna be a player. Chevy's won more super speedways than anybody as of recently, so maybe that's kind of a little bit of an advantage to him as well. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see for sure. But all right, well then let's close the book on this episode, and we'll be glad that we put it out for you and talking about the drivers that next season will have new homes. We'll continue to do that. We'll talk about a couple more next week and find another or next time around and find another way to get in on some of these drivers. Hopefully you're enjoying your break and taking the time to say hello to people you may have not said hi to in a few weeks because of this, or a few months rather, because of this season. But yeah, we're having fun.
Make sure you got like plans with the family on Sunday. Take the wife out somewhere nice, and when she's like, "Don't you want to watch the race?" You're just like, honey, I just want to spend time with you. And you gotta. Football's right around the corner, fellas. Make sure we're doing this right.
Exactly. And ladies too. We've got a few out there that are
absolutely. Yeah.
Time
Shout
with
out to our lady listeners. We got quite a few. So yeah, love you guys as well. Treat your husbands nicely.
Yes, please do. All right. Let's go out of here. And in the meantime, Cody, let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, follow me over on the X at Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my stuff over there. And yeah, we'll be back later this week with another silly season update. And then futures episodes next week. We'll have a full slate, all the series. There's other props out there for making the championship 4, head-to-heads for season long, all of that stuff. So make sure you check it out. Because yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. And then obviously we'll be back into the swing of things and headed towards the playoffs.
Yes. Playoffs. Scratching that NASCAR itch for you, even though the races on the track aren't happening. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio, everything I got going on. And like Cody said, we'll be back another time this week with some more silly season talk and maybe some other stuff to wrap up some odds and ends as we take a look back at the beginning of the season. So until then, everyone, we'll see you at that point. And let's go racing and let it ride.